Hi, this is Sahar Shunier, human interest photojournalist and founding spokesperson of Stop Non-Consensual Experiments and All World Citizens. I forgot to check the exact time and date before I started this video, but I am recording it live. I'm not going to know until I listen to it in playback, but when I started this video, it was because I heard some raised voices with a Nigerian accent, adult males, very nearby. There was some kind of animated exchange not very far outside my window. And it's on the heels of, I should explain, there's been a surge in quite obvious computer hacking by the Organized Sexual Predators and Extortioners engaged in human enslavement and human trafficking. Since I was temporarily been out of my VPN account because they said they wanted me to log in again, and I have to locate the login information. I just don't remember what it is because it's been a while since I was prompted to have to log in. So ever since I'm not using the VPN, there's been obvious increase in obstruction of my communications. And I just received a friend request. I just saw a notification of it. It was from a profile that was only apparently been existing for not more than 1 day. And it is probably, before people associate the person in the profile photo with the party, there's a good chance that, if that's the purpose for the profile is for human enslavement and human trafficking activities, that the picture in the profile is bought or stolen. So it's a good chance it's not the person that it appears to be. So before anybody wrongly associates whoever's image happens to be in those profiles. And so I just screen recorded and tried to report, but with the way they've been operating, they're probably just going to prevent it from actually reaching real Facebook officials to Facebook. But I'm going to be making a trip to be talking with law enforcement in person, and so I will attempt again to get a police report filed about these human enslavement and human trafficking activities. But so far, the problem I've been running into is the person believed but not known to be my mother is a government contracted with intelligence clearance behavior modification neuropsychiatrist. Unfortunately, that has been coordinating. Okay, a police car, I just saw the reflection of it. We're going to see it go through here. Just is coming down the block now. So she has been, that says NYPD on the side. I don't know how clearly it showed, but that was definitely an NYPD vehicle. So she unfortunately, works in behavior modification, but not like, with a focus to help people stop smoking, things like that would be good causes, but for brainwashing and programming to facilitate human enslavement and human trafficking. For years now, she has been working with parties to try to frame me and do anything to sabotage my ability to simply live a peaceful, legitimate, independent life, free from having to be stuck in her household and at her workplace around the clock, her slave. So she was heard complaining to my second pseudo stepfather shortly before she supposedly just happened to find him dead in her office and had him immediately cremated. He was a doctor involved in this network, also focused on behavior modification. His subspecialties were different, however, hypnosis and neurolinguistic programming and covert drugging and psychic driving. And she was heard complaining, "You mean all this money I've been paying in and I cannot access her whenever I want?" And she literally said it like that, and I probably did not get across the extent of the clear malice. Those were the kinds of things that started letting me know that, she was only pretending to some extent and really not very well to not be involved. Okay, I see the police car. Look at this. It's going by again. So the problem I've been running into, I can see the reflection. I don't know if it's going to continue down the street. You see, there's the reflection. It's going slowly. So the problem I've been coming into is that she's been working, okay, so now what? She's been working highly shielded. Okay, so seriously, what's going on there? She's been highly shielded by virtue of working with a network that includes the network that apparently my first pseudo-stepfather was also involved in, which is corrupt members. They refer to themselves as the Brotherhood. That's the way they've been referred to. And in some Spanish-speaking countries, La Hermandad, referred to in the film Man on Fire, starring Denzel Washington and Dakota Fanning. So basically, unfortunately, including corrupt police officers that so highly shield themselves and members of human enslavement and human trafficking, that they basically shield in many ways through the corruption, including by shepherding victims that they're targeting for human enslavement and human trafficking that try to get a police report filed and get legitimate intervention. They shepherd them to, quote, their vetted doctors, which includes psychiatrists like the person believed to be my mother, that is seeking to simply discredit, well, worse, I would say simply, but it's more than that. So to, at the minimum, discredit the victims that are complaining about the activities, but really to do worse on top. And they're using technologies that are, they have, such as, I think I've heard the term stingray technology and other technologies. They always seem to be stalking in range to be monitoring and intercepting unlawfully communications of the person that they're targeting for human enslavement and human trafficking. And this is a pattern that they have been engaged in internationally. I've now been working on this and reporting on it for over 13 years, and it really needs to be made to stop. So because it's hard enough to get help against organized predators engaged in human enslavement and human trafficking that are very networked, but when there's extensive high shielding by corrupt parties, then, what is a person to do? So in my case, I've been raising public awareness, which I'm sure is a lot of why, if not basically the reason, I have not been thus far disappeared. And I have recently posted an open letter to the NYPD Police Commissioner, Shea, S-H-E-A, and I will be following up, and I should be able to get an appointment. He sounds nice. He's been reaching out to the community, and I've always been active in volunteer community service. So I did a write-up, but due to the computer hacking interference with my devices, I'm not able to do certain things for my videos that I'm looking forward to being able to get back to again. There's another car. I'm just going to make a note lurking there. And those windows look pretty dark. It's harder to tell when it's nighttime, but those look like maybe the kinds of windows that are so deeply black tinted all the way around that you might not be able to see who or what's inside. So I didn't hear any door open or anything like that. So only when I shifted focus, then suddenly that NYPD vehicle, or that says NYPD on the side, continued forward. So I really don't, like what's been going on, which is, trying to get help against the human enslavement and human trafficking activities, including the stalkings and including the poisonings through the air that I breathe. And, there seemed to be excessive, disproportionate appearance of police vehicles, lurking around. But when you try to actually go into a police station and get a police report filed, I don't believe that there's 100% corruption. I think, though, it is high, about 50%. And so it seems like, you go in, you try to get help. And unfortunately, they know, the network's already notified their pocketed people there that you're on your way. And so you get met with and greeted by somebody who is angling to just have you taken to one of their, quote, vetted doctors. They know exactly which doctor they want to take you to. Like if it was in Alabama where my mother is, I'm sure they'd be anxious to take you there. So, and unfortunately, I've already heard of someone else that they, at least one other person right off the top of my head, that was set up to be easier prey for these darn human enslavement and human trafficking networked people that are using pocketed doctors, especially in, psychiatry, things like that, that are very subjective, and that, they can use to derail a single female's life. In particular, there was a young woman had worked hard to get her scholarship to get some freedom because she did have a mother also cooperating with this network to frame her up. This is really sick and really sad. So that's apparently a pattern of the mode of operation. Parents or supposed parents that facilitate these people to frame the daughter or the person they claim is their daughter. They get themselves into that position. They might not even be really the parents, but it gives them some more ability to derail that person they're targeting that they say is the daughter. And so they cause this, with their setups, they cause the young woman to lose her scholarship and to get put into prison under manufactured circumstances. So long story short, this is something I reported to a former law professor to ask for help for both for myself and for other people I realized were being targeted like this. And I would hesitate to say, because it is somebody who was shepherded to the person believed to be my mother as her psychiatrist, but this is acute endangerment to myself and to others by this organized criminal network. And this is not something the young lady did wrong. It was something that was done wrong to her. And she was complaining that her brother had raped her. And her mother and her grandmother kept insisting that she needs to take it back. She said, no, she's not going to take it back. They blocked her in to her room where she had just recently started college. She had earned a full scholarship. And they absolutely refused to let her out of the room until she, quote, takes it back. And her brother was a gang member who by this time, I believe, had gotten himself dead. And but they're not wanting to leave this woman alone that they were targeting, this network. So she said, no, she's not going to take it back. And her grandmother was the one specifically blocking the door. And she did move her grandmother out of the way, is my understanding, so she could get out of the room where they were falsely imprisoning her. And they had their pocketed police standing by, so that they falsely accused her that she had supposedly assaulted the grandmother, who had no bruises or any kinds of signs of being physically assaulted, but they called that an assault. And so they literally arrested and put the woman in prison. She spent time in there, so she lost her scholarship. She got totally derailed, just set up for the job offer she can't refuse. So in any event, I don't hear the people raising their voices animatedly with the Nigerian accents. It was at least 2 men that I heard initially when I first started this video. Hopefully their voices might have been caught audibly at the beginning of the video. I'll be able to tell once I start it up in playback. And immediately after this, I'm going to post the screen recording I did of the most recent profile that obviously is connected to Nigeria, and was, doesn't have any posts except some pictures from within the last day, and no friend connections, etc. And so I'm very concerned because of the combination of the coordinated activities, both online and offline, targeting me for years by this damned human trafficking network. And it's to an extent where I've not been allowed to do anything properly that I need to do to even just have basic survival and health and so forth, because I get stalked. I get my career services appointments derailed literally more than one time And I haven't had that many appointments yet because we're trying to get these activities to subside before I even bother to try to continue going forward with career services. But my counselor is aware of the situation, because more than the one time that we've had appointments set up in person, somebody made the point to cause the fire alarm to go off. I said, how often does that happen? She said, otherwise not often at all. Okay, so I mean, it's from the very petty to the life-threatening, the activities, the acutely life-threatening and certainly cumulatively life-threatening activities to just prevent me from even being able to pursue employment properly. And in the meanwhile, the stalking is not just to be watching me and interfering with communications, which is more than a minor matter when you're talking about searching for housing and employment and so forth as well in your communications. But it's also been to coordinate continual poisonings of the air that I'm breathing with neurotoxic inhalants. Has been going on now since my first of 3 travels to Albany in search of legitimate intervention from New York State government. That trip started October 2018. Today is now February 25th, 2021. I might have just missed a day if it's after midnight now. It might be into February 26th. So I'm going to close this out, and thank you, and God bless you.